thing. Our body. We're gonna get our tripod working. Oh my god, so nice. Good morning if you're joining, and I'm doing the Power Word Weekly. Alright, we got. Okay, I know Rashada's laptop's probably in the way. It's okay. You know what? You're gonna see the dusty keyboard. You're fine. Alright, here we go.
Like most people, I didn't even think about caregiving until my father was diagnosed with cancer. My dad was somebody who I idolized. I used to dress up like him when I was a kid in kindergarten and get made fun of because I wanted to wear like a suit and a tie. And then to go from that to giving him a bath is quite a traumatic thing. The only good thing about somebody who has an illness that's terminal is that you really can try to enjoy the moments that you have left. We went around Philadelphia. We went to a Phillies game. We sat in the dugout. So that was a really lovely thing to be able to do. He was at a point where he needed a lot of care. I was lucky enough that I was able to be there for him, and I certainly benefited from the help that we also got. I mean, these are heroic people that are caregivers, period. Their ability to focus and give all of themselves is something that I stand in awe of.
There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who currently are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregiving.
This caregiving story was made possible with the support of these generous funders.
The king is here. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what number I'm on now. 6, 7, 8. I'm a wife that's caring for my husband 24/7. 16. Good job, man. Good job. We're going this way. Today is our 21st anniversary. You gonna dance with me? Dance with me. He was diagnosed with a neurological disorder. There is no cure. I cry, but never let him see me cry. I'm like, okay, girl, let's get it together. You ready to get shaved? All right. Now I'm doing total care, helping him to walk, cleaning him, bathing him. Thank God for your feet, right? You can walk. The entire process has been mentally draining, physically draining. One more. Yeah. To the point that I could no longer work. Okay, kid. Insulin time. It took everything that we had left. My credit card debt went from maybe $2,000 to over $30,000. You ready? The journey's been tough, but it made me fall more in love with him. Okay. Even though he was disappearing, it's like our love was growing. And 2, where we are now is that he has deteriorated to the point that he needed hospice care. Finally, there was help. You can get lotion, razors, any type of continence supplies, as well as a home health aide that can come in and make it a little bit easier. But as of last Wednesday, I was told that he will be released from hospice. All of the assistance that was in place for him was going to be gone. You color a picture for me? The social worker said that he's not deteriorating fast enough. Color the bus. No, you can't eat that. You want to color the bus? No. I'm like, what? He's not getting better. He's getting worse. What's the problem?
Welcome to Medicare. Briefly tell me the reason for your call today.
I had some questions in reference
He's
to
having trouble
when
coloring
you're
a coloring
released from
book. That's
hospice.
great.
What do you mean by that? Okay, so basically, it's based on how many days you have left, and if you're not dead by that time, then you got to come off.
That's crazy.
Now say that back to yourself and tell me how that sounds. I was told that because he's been on hospice a year and a half and he hasn't died, he doesn't qualify for a humane way to leave this world, a way that doesn't kill the caregiver. I'm going to continue to fight for him. But without hospice help at all, I've got to figure that out by myself. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Care is what makes us human. Care is the first and most fundamental human connection that we need from the time that we're born throughout our lives.
Care and caregiving is a source of pride, a source of sadness, and oftentimes joy.
So my dad is actually a medically retired Navy SEAL, and now he's like helping me just get stronger.
It's intense. It's the most intense work that somebody will ever do. And it's universal.
1, 2.
Do you think we look alike? Mom, are you funny?
Care includes the work of cooking, cleaning, nursing, teaching, feeding. This care work is essential to the functioning of the American economy. So care is much more than just one issue among many. It is the foundational issue for contemporary American society.
I'm here caring for 2 sick people, which is definitely harder than anything I've ever done in my life.
But everyone is burning out, whether it's the family member or the care worker.
I feel like every hope and dream that I've ever had has now been taken from me.
There's just this simmering crisis that has been playing out. The pandemic helped us to see all of that, to see that we do need a new approach to care in this country.
In April 2024, caregivers from across the country gathered in Washington, D.C. for their most high-profile ever rally.
My day started at 5 a.m. I prayed and then went over to the Union Station. I'm a home care provider from Los Angeles. I care for my daughter, Diamond Smith.
Caregivers and the work they do are generally invisible to the wider world.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yep, 1, 2, 1, 1.
They had come together to celebrate one another and to press the federal government for recognition and support.
This is Caregiver Month. It made all of us feel like we're being seen and heard and we're not forgotten.
Así que están muy felices de estar aquí. ¡Viva las trabajadoras del hogar!
This rally was really about putting care work and caregivers at the top of the national agenda. We're going to be letting people know that their care stories are powerful and that their voices matter. Good morning. Welcome to our Rally for Care. I am a proud caregiver raised by the care of loved ones and care workers. And I'm here today because I know in homes across this country, families are struggling to care for the people we love. For too long, we have been isolated, unsupported, undervalued. We are the caring majority in this country. And we won't wait for change. Care can't wait.
As America's population has been aging and the gig economy growing, calls from caregivers for policies that support them have increased in urgency.
What we have in the United States is a situation where every single day, 10,000 people turn 65. And because of advances in healthcare and technology, people are living longer than ever before. We've got none of the systems or policies in place to support a quality of life for that extended period. And on the other end of the generational spectrum, we've got millennials giving birth. 4 million babies are born every year in this country. And so across the generational spectrum, we need more care than we ever could have imagined or that we've ever designed for. And so we've also relied upon a caregiving workforce. Millions of vast majority women and majority women of color who work providing the care that makes everything else possible. The child care, the elder care, the attendance for people with disabilities, and they're underpaid. They don't have benefits. They don't have any kind of job security or health care. So the women that we're counting on to take care of us and our families can't take care of themselves or their own families in this profession.
Good morning, Shirley. How you feeling this morning? You good? Let me get your stuff together. I always say not everyone could do this job. It seems easy. Yeah, you take a test. 4-week training. But it's nothing like when you're in the home. It's never been easy. Let me pat dry your face. But with time, I found the love for what I do. And I've been doing it now for 23 years. Okay, let me get your fingers. Let's start with your fingers like we do. Okay. Now you're flexible, mija. A lot of people rather be home, even if they have an illness, but they're home in their own comfort. Pretty toes. A lot of them don't have family. The holidays come. Mother's Day come, Father's Day come, a birthday come, and we're the one that are there for them.
Most caregivers in the United States are women, and for those who are direct care workers, principally women of color. And I honestly believe that one of the reasons why we haven't compensated them adequately, haven't paid them the respect that they absolutely deserve, is because of who they are.
Try it on me.
We need to look in the mirror, say to ourselves, think of the service that these people are providing,
Here you go.
the importance of the job, and let's please reimagine not only what they mean to us, but how we should treat them, how we should pay them, how we should respect them.
We're there to give them moral support, so let them know they're gonna be okay, that they're not alone. To see that smile in their face, that fills my heart. It could be me, it could be my mom, it could be anyone. And it's being selfless and having patience. We sacrifice a lot. When I go home, I have a whole family that I gotta tend to.
The U.S. economy also relies on unpaid work of between 53 million and 105.6 million adults who are caregivers for families and friends. The value of this work is estimated to be over 600 billion per year. Hello everyone in the comments. It's hard to see the comments unless I check every now and then. Hello, thank you for joining. Sorry it's been a second since I responded to the comments. I've been listening to the documentary.
Sacrifice a lot.
Let me read the last slide that was on there.
When I go home, I have a whole family that I gotta tend to.
Should I read this slide? What's the next slide? Here's this one. While the vast majority of family caregivers are women, there are millions of men who provide care to their loved ones. The Colley family, Goldens Bridge, New York.
I met Conlea in 2010, and I knew she was the one.
Cute. They're showing a collage of family
We knew we wanted to
pictures
start
when they
a
jump in
family.
the air.
So after I proposed, we bought this fixer-upper house, and we've been fixing it up together.
They're cute.
What are you doing?
Cleaning, first day cleaning.
We had our son in 2017.
Oh, where did I get out to 18?
And then in 2020, our lives turned upside down.
Oh, she's in a hospital bed with her
We were on
head
the trampoline, she
bandaged.
complained of a headache, so we went inside. I turned around, and she was in a very awkward position.
Ooh.
She wasn't responsive. So called 911 right away.
Oh, she had
Ambulance
surgery.
came. They took Conlea. I couldn't leave because I had to stay with Ty, which is pretty much the story throughout this struggle of my son needs me and my wife needs me. She was 35, no medical issues, no family history. All of a sudden, she had 2 massive strokes.
Oh.
Her brain was permanently damaged. They scanned her body and they found a 10-centimeter mass in her abdomen, and it turned out to be ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And the ovarian cancer is what caused these strokes. And this all happened at the height of COVID. So I had to do everything myself, and all I had
She just had a
was
baby
Leia.
too.
All she had was me. At that time, I didn't even know what a caregiver was. I always thought it was for old folks, your parents. And then I had to quit my job. I almost felt pushed out as a caregiver because they didn't know what to do with somebody in my position. They expected things to go back to normal. But for me, like, it's not going back to normal.
Hey, what's going on TikTok? My name is Matt. I'm creating this video just because I'm trying to reach out for some help. So my wife, she's 35. She had a stroke back in May. I have a 3-year-old, and right now I'm the caretaker. I'm taking care of everything, and it's been really tough.
There was nobody to turn to, and so what I did was turn to social media.
Doing everything I can to see my family through, and I'll get through this, but it'd be great to talk to somebody. So if anybody's ever been through anything like this, please reach out.
Well, there are so many support groups online.
I started to see
I
a
love that.
resident.
You're doing it. Doing occupational therapy.
Started out a few hundred, and then it became 1,000, and then I started to do a chemo dancing with Conlea.
Oh, baby.
But it's a roller coaster, and not all just good times. The videos show happy sunshine and rainbows, but
Their TikTok account is the Dedicated Caregiver. There's a picture of the guy in a blue shirt and his wife in a pink shirt and the kiddo in a blue hat, if you're interested. So that's like, again, the handle on TikTok for this family, the Dedicated Caregiver.
no, it's not all the time. And then I started to post videos that were a little more truthful and not sugar-coated.
This is my wife. Like, this is my partner in crime. You know, the mother to my child. You know, my soulmate. So it's been really tough.
Oh.
I had nothing to lose. I didn't care if people saw me scream or yell, or I just had to get it out there.
I just feel like my family's been robbed of like just a normal life.
It actually helped others out, as well as helping me out. People were thankful for it.
I read every single comment, and it was a spirit booster, a faith booster.
He's building a ramp for his disabled wife.
It's good to know that you're not alone.
We know the numbers of caregivers are multiplying, and the challenge for all of us in the United States is, how do we deal with it? Are we ignoring something that's going to affect not only every one of our lives,
Everybody
but
gets
our
there. A lot of the time,
communities,
everybody
our
has
schools, our hospitals?
the chance to get there.
How do we measure the success of America? Is it just GDP? One of the ways is our success in providing care. If we are a caring society, caring for our children, caring for our older adults, we end up with a country that's happier. It's a country where more people have the ability to work and work well. In the next version of America, could care be a driver of our success and how we feel about ourselves?
The first time the United States confronted the challenge of caregiving as a country was 100 years ago during the Great Depression. Millions of families lost their livelihood and all their savings.
The total economy went to pieces, just shook to pieces under us. Everybody.
I will add, in the Great Depression, people that had bank accounts suffered in the Great Depression. And during that time, there was a lot of racism. So a lot of people of color did not even have a bank account to fall back on, nor an interesting thing about this time period also is that the main buyer of Cadillac were people that were not even allowed to have bank accounts, and that included women and people of color. So the Great Depression largely affected white people. And so in all these food lines during the Great Depression were a bunch of white people. And so caregiving affects everyone and people of color, but it is interesting that it was addressed finally 100 years ago when it only just hit white people. It's an interesting thing.
Less than a year, it was a terror. It was a time of most terrible suffering. This wasn't just a few people, these were thousands of people. And there was no government relief, so this meant that they had just these $2.50 a week that the Red Cross provided them.
The men with professions that were only too glad to clean a yard to make $1. Men that went to college because there was no welfare. There was no welfare.
It's fundamentally a crisis of people being unable to care for themselves and to care for their children. We have to understand economic crises in this country, whether it is in the Great Depression, whether it is during COVID, as fundamentally crises of care. So economic crisis is also care crisis, and a care crisis is also an economic crisis.
When the Depression hit, the president, Herbert Hoover, declined to provide large-scale federal support to the American people. He believed it would discourage them from work.
Sounds familiar.
3 years later, with the Depression still impacting millions of families, the 1932 election became a national referendum on whether the government should now act. Hoover held his line.
This campaign is more than a contest between two men. It is more than a contest between two parties. It is a contest between two philosophies of government.
In contrast, his opponent, Franklin Roosevelt, promised bold government action.
I say to you now, I pledge.
Fun fact about Roosevelt is that John Muir kidnapped him. And what we've learned about recent news is that if you capture the president, technically you run the country. John Muir said to have convinced Roosevelt after his kidnapping by John Muir, we got our national parks. So interesting, the way they word that situation. Back to the Dilly.
To a new deal for the American people.
Looking for a way out of the Depression, voters elected Roosevelt in a landslide. From an office in his New York townhouse, Roosevelt chose the members of his cabinet. He left the most important job for last, the Secretary of Labor. To discuss that position, he called a meeting with a trusted advisor and talented administrator, Frances Perkins.
Frances Perkins comes up the stairs. She describes the room as chaos, papers piled high all around, and he offers her the job with 33% unemployment. The Secretary of Labor was really the point position in the whole Roosevelt administration. they had to do something to help alleviate the crisis state of the American population.
Perkins paused before responding to the job offer. For all Roosevelt's campaign talk of a New Deal, he had not worked out the details. But Perkins had...
It's interesting, as I hear a lot about Perkins, I did not know they were a woman.
Looking far beyond the Great Depression, she told Roosevelt she wanted to build America's first
Thank
federal
you.
safety net.
Thank you in the comments if you're still watching. I can't see who's viewing or whatever.
Among the things I wanted
With
to do
the tripod I have.
find a way of getting unemployment insurance.
But thank you for
overseas
watching and
insurance, health
commenting.
insurance. We didn't have much time.
She had around 10 items on her list: unemployment insurance, old age pensions, help for children, 40-hour work week, a minimum wage. The last of the items was national health insurance. None of these things had really been discussed in his campaign, but Perkins had been making her own plan.
And I remember he looked somewhat startled and he said, well, if you think it can be done? And I said, I don't know, but I don't want you to put any blocks in my way. And this is the way it all began.
Perkins' journey to architect of America's social safety net was an unlikely one for a woman in the early 20th century. Originally a social worker before the Great Depression, Perkins had seen firsthand
I didn't know
how
he
the
had
same
social workers back then.
problems played out in household after household when someone was unable to earn a paycheck.
People had always been expected to be self-reliant. That was something built into the ethos of the United States. But it became increasingly obvious. You needed to have supports to help compensate for economic shocks that every family would have. And one of the things that Perkins did was try to create a system that will help them until better times come.
Perkins stopped working when she had a child, but had to find a job again after her husband fell sick and needed care.
Perkins is such an unusual person in so many ways. Most people who end up in leadership positions come from wealth. Most women who've ever held power in world history have been someone's daughter, someone's wife, or someone's mother. Perkins doesn't come from that. She comes from a middle-class family where they have to come up with their own caregiving strategies.
She'd earned Roosevelt's trust as one of his advisors when he was the governor of New York. Now, she took the job of Secretary of Labor only after he agreed to support her plan for a federal safety net. The people are what matter to government, Perkins
A
believed,
relatable
and the government should aim to give all the
person
people
representation.
under its jurisdiction the best possible life.
At first, Perkins had to deal with just the most immediate crisis of wholesale starvation. But the
Wholesale
big
starvation?
initiative that really changes things is the Social Security Act.
Keyword to look up.
Perkins led a committee that devised the Social Security program in just 6 months. She then pushed the bill through Congress, winning overwhelming majorities in both chambers.
The Social Security Act was a many splendored thing. It included a system of old age retirement pensions, unemployment compensation, aid to dependent children, and a couple of very targeted disability programs.
It's providing people with the economic resources to care for themselves during these periods when they do not have independent sources of income. But it isn't charity. That is an earned benefit. You work, you get credits, so that when you need the money later, it will be there. And that's one of the things that's made it so successful and so popular across all political parties.
With Frances Perkins standing right behind.
Side note to that, when I was pregnant with my kiddo, I have always paid into, like my whole life, paid into the disability program. And when you go on maternity leave, it's classified as sort of a disability. So you're supposed to get maternity pay if you're not working. And for me, I was a full-time student and not working, so I was getting FAFSA and I had supportive family. But I was not able to gain anything from the program, which I thought was interesting because I've always paid into it. I will always pay into it. I think it's a good thing, but even though I was in school getting FAFSA full-time student, I couldn't gain from the maternity leave program because I wasn't currently employed by a company, even though I was a full-time student. So, interesting statement there.
Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law.
It's impossible to overstate the significance of the Social Security Act or the revolution in the role of the federal government that it represented, because the federal government had not been involved or expected to be involved in the provision of care. That was just not
Hello,
its
anyone
job.
watching? I
But
can't
now
see if
it
there's
was.
anyone watching at the moment because of my tripod.
But for Perkins, it was not the total success she wanted.
Yes, that's where we're at.
Affordable universal health insurance was a core part of her plan for a family safety net, but she chose to drop it in the face of relentless opposition from doctors who favored private health insurance.
It'll be longer than my
And in
hand.
Congress, Southern
Start
Democrats
measuring.
insisted that farm workers and domestic workers were excluded.
Go back.
Universal health insurance was a core part of her plan for a family safety net, but she chose to drop it in the face of relentless opposition from doctors who favored private health insurance. And in Congress, Southern Democrats insisted that farm workers and domestic workers were excluded.
Wow. People that needed the most.
The people who are excluded are the people who are already low-wage workers. They're in the lowest paid sectors of American society, and they're not only denied decent wages during their working lives, but they're denied security in old age.
In all, nearly half the American workforce was denied access to Social Security, including most women and minorities who did the bulk of care work.
You saw transformation, and you also saw this exclusion of who would benefit from that transformation. And it was codified in those very policies.
Crazy.
And those two groups, domestic workers and agricultural workers, stayed highly insecure without a safety net. And so those vulnerabilities that were revealed in the Great Depression remain.
You know, Dad loves his jelly. My dad has been living with me for a little over 3 years now. He has Alzheimer's disease.
Reminds me.
And in April of 2023, we noticed that he couldn't move. I had him hospitalized. They declared him as failure to thrive. And so they had recommended that I put him on hospice. Hi, Dad. You ready to play? Check out this fruit variety we got here. Caregiving was just not something that I had done before, but I was ready to do whatever it took to make sure that my dad had a quality to his life. You ready to rock out? I'll let him know what the day is. Happy Saturday, Dad! And then I change his brief. Be quick. Give him his medicine. Okay. Hey, Dad, you ready to take this? Here's the first one. When I first brought my dad home, there was a lot of fear. Can you hold this for me? Come on. There you go. dad. Fear of the unknown of, can I do this? And do I have what it takes to be able to care for somebody in this condition? Well, almost done. But also it meant figuring out how to maintain his sense of dignity throughout this process. To the planets. It was a roller coaster of grief. Brush your hair, okay? It was like becoming so real that
He looks so
my
happy.
dad was declining and that it was going to be like this until we were done. I mean, we're in it together. He's just as scared and confused as I am, and I can tell, you know. And so it's nice to share it with him, and laughter and love will pull us through. I'm gonna help you. Get in the chair, okay? Once my dad's care is 100% complete, up and away. I like to have a transition period from caregiver to daughter. Then I'm able to sit down and just be present with my dad and laugh or also sit in silence with him, because sometimes silence is very beautiful between us too. I had to be the primary caregiver for my dad because I promised him I would be.
Aw.
I'm going to keep that promise to the full extent. I will do whatever it takes to be able to make sure that my dad is comfortable at home, surrounded by his loved ones, until the end.
Hi, John. Good to see you. We're gonna record your heartbeat today.
The Heartbeat Project is a legacy piece for my dad.
All right, John, here we go.
To create a song with the rhythm of my dad's heartbeat that also encompasses memories that we have together and just who my dad was before the disease took over. Did you ever hear your heart before, Dad? You got a big one. That's for sure. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
One of the scariest things that I'm faced with right now is what do I do once my dad is gone? Is to figure out how do I live without my dad then.
Oh, buddy.
Thank you for
I'm glad she could have a bond with her parent.
hearing it like that.
Yeah.
That was just as exciting as hearing a heartbeat in the belly. So you want to hear somebody's heartbeat that you love. It's moving. I've discovered that my dad is my soulmate. I feel like our souls were meant to come together. I'm gonna change your shirt, okay? My dad saved me when I was a kid, and now I get to return the favor.
My parents did not. I'm glad there could be people out there. My grandpa, he's a good man.
Throughout the world, throngs of people hailed the end of the war in Europe. It is 5 years and more since Hitler marched into Poland. Now the war against Germany is won.
World War II marked the end of the Great Depression and the beginning of a new chapter in American history and its care story. Frances Perkins tried again to make health insurance a core part of the federal safety net, but the moment had passed. federal investment went instead to America's growing middle class and the highways, colleges, and suburbs that enabled it to thrive.
You have this story of a nuclear family that gets cemented, where you have a husband, a wife, 2 kids, a picket fence, and as the woman, your role is to take care of all things domestic, household, and care. And the man goes to work and brings home the paycheck as the breadwinner.
The family as an institution has changed greatly, but it still carries out its essential functions: reproduction and the care and socialization of the young. As long as it maintains these functions, it will continue to flourish.
That narrative was really only true for a set of people. For working class people in particular, there just weren't the options, but there was kind of an aspirational organization.
Ooh, also, during that time, the narrative of the stay-at-home mom was only the higher end of middle-class people. During that time, anyone that was not higher middle class, you still had both members of the family working.
And of society around it.
But beneath the surface, all was not well in the American family. And caregiving, particularly child care, was at the heart of the reason why.
The culture is saying to women, care is your responsibility at home, and it is a private duty. At the same time that the economy is desperate for women workers who often have to work for a living. And so they're put in this vise that's impossible to bear.
By the 1960s, the second wave feminist movement was emerging from this sense of frustration. Women began pushing for equality in the workplace, and the assistance, especially with their child care, that would make it possible.
The question became, what's going to happen to care? So if you don't think this picture of women staying in the house and doing care and going out to work is an ideal, let alone a reality, what's going to happen with the caring? How could you think about care if women also are going out in the world and being educated and being in the workforce?
In Washington, D.C., a group of women, led by the children's rights advocate Marian Wright Edelman, came together to turn child care slogans into ideas.
I get asked questions all the time. Like when I'm at work and I find out I have kiddos, they're like, where's your child? And I was like, either at school or with dad. What do you mean? Just ask one at a time.
Groups within the labor movement come together with this emerging feminist movement, come together with welfare rights activists who are demanding a more just welfare system, civil rights activists who think of childcare as a civil right. All of these groups in that incredibly vital moment of social reform in the late 1960s coalesce behind a program of comprehensive childcare.
They were inspired by the child care policy the federal government had adopted in World War II to attract women to the workplace.
Fingers and hands that plied the knitting needles are turning their deftness to wing assembly.
Crazy.
Hands that had toiled not nor spun are taking up the torch of the welder.
The image of Rosie and Rita made heroes out of female workers who went into defense plants. But this created a crisis for them individually because there was no child care.
Needing to recruit millions of women workers, the government funded high-quality child care centers near defense plants.
When married women with small children have to take jobs, everything possible will be done to provide day care for the children.
We built child care centers all over the country so that mothers could go to work. We extended school, and teachers took on additional responsibilities educating young folks on what civic responsibility and care for the family and the country looked like. We created a citizen response that this country had never seen before, and frankly, hasn't seen since.
Americans are thinking of childcare as infrastructure. They're thinking of childcare as the same thing as roads and bridges and the other things you need to get production underway. It's a really, really fertile moment.
This is Operation Homecoming.
But at the end of the war, public support for women in the workplace and the federal caregiving policies that would make this possible quickly evaporated.
The child care centers provided this glimpse of what could be possible, but it was evanescent. As soon as the war was over, the federal funds dried up, and with them, many of the child care centers.
But some of the women who protested these closures after World War II continued to lobby for federal child care. And in the late 1960s, they finally persuaded Congress to take up a bill establishing publicly funded care for all children below school age.
For the poorest of children, childcare would be completely free. Everybody else would have access to the same system, and they would pay sliding scale based on need. It makes so much sense. And it made so much sense to Congress at the time because it passed through both houses, which is a feat in this country.
Next, the bill went to President Nixon for his signature so that the work of building these centers could begin.
At first, people thought that President Nixon might actually sign it. But there was strong backlash from people like Phyllis Schlafly, conservatives who were very concerned that increased women's entry into the labor force would undermine the traditional family.
The American dream is a mother sacrificing her own career advancement in order to give her children.
My 2 cents about the traditional family structure. Again, only the upper middle class women during this time. It was very new for women to not be working, and it was only during this time after World War II, and it was higher upper middle class. It was new for women to not be working outside the home or farming with children. So it's interesting that the narrative during this time was referring to traditional dynamics when it had never been before this time period after World War II. The upper middle class women were staying home with the kids. All the times before that, women were farming and working also with babies. So it's interesting that when it was new to have the ideology and possibility for upper middle class women to be home, being homemakers, that they were acting like it had been around forever, even though it's new. So, this doesn't make sense to me. It's interesting.
Children the best care that she possibly can. I think that a woman can indeed have it all, as I have had, if she realizes that she can't have it all at the same time.
And then Nixon vetoed it. And you can start to see the story that is taking hold. This is government raising our children. This is too costly. And really pushing back against the idea that government should have any role in our caregiving. That it should be on the individual family.
With one stroke of the pen, President Nixon has broken his own promise, and he has greatly damaged the chances for the children of working families as well as poor children to have an opportunity for the kind of healthful and stimulating development which the president pledged to support.
The United States had come closer than ever to adding universal child care to its federal safety net for families that wanted it. But what was put in place instead was a complex system of tax credits for families and employers. And today,
which really doesn't exist
half
anymore.
of Americans live in areas with high child care costs, and the other half live in areas with limited access to child care centers. for the country's 50 million working parents, the challenge of balancing work and family is getting harder.
Women's influx into the workforce led to growth in our GDP 10, 11, 13%. So from an economic standpoint, women in the workforce actually grows our economy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's absolutely clear that if we want to...
Side note, women in the workforce puts money in women's pockets, which is about like, I saw the other day, it was like 75% of all markets are women-related things, like women's clothing is a very top seller in our economy. Skincare products, whatever it may be. These markets are still predominantly produced by men, but purchased by women. So if you want to think about this as a male-affecting industry, if you take money away from women, a lot of these, like designers, the fashion industry is predominantly produced by men, so it will not be beneficial to those men if you take money from women.
For our economy, then we have to be willing to invest in women, and that means that you invest in care.
The pregnancy was completely normal, like by the book. Having always wanted to be a mom, just like, wow, like my dream's coming true. Like, I'm so lucky. I went to my 37-week exam, which was on a Friday, and everything looked good. But come Monday, I woke up, didn't really feel her move. And I sort of, you know, like, hey, baby, like, good morning. Nothing really. I'm like, okay, so I told Guillaume, I'm like, okay, I think I should maybe call the doctor just in case. They hooked me up to the monitor, and he's like, I'm so sorry, but we have to do an emergency C-section. And then I see her come up, and she looks kind of blue, purple.
Oh, baby.
And I looked to Guillaume because it was quiet, like she was quiet.
And that's when the doctor was just like, hey, we need to check her out because like she seems to have some difficulty breathing.
The time sort of blurs. And then the doctor said she did suffer a severe brain bleed, which has caused catastrophic global damage. I just remember, you know, screaming like, my baby, like, why? You know, and they would say it's worst case scenario. She, you know, she won't eat, she won't talk, she won't walk, she won't be aware of the world around her.
Like the Angel syndrome.
They said she won't go to school, she won't make friends. Like, just basically, like, she was just going to exist.
No, baby.
11 days later, I got a call from the head nurse, and she's like, hey, Kim, we're gonna need you to come in. Charlotte's not doing well. I don't think she's gonna make it.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
They're like, do you want to hold her? I'm like, really? I can hold her? And they're like, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
like, I
baby.
didn't realize it was because I was gonna say goodbye.
Oh, baby.
Beautiful girl. I love you. She was basically almost flatlined. My mind is thinking, how do I squeeze in a lifetime of like everything I want to tell her?
Oh, baby.
I told her, it's okay. You can go. think we'll be okay. But like knowing like, please don't, like please don't. Then they were like just giving us like blankets to pick out and like a little bow for her hair, and they took like an imprint of her
baby.
hand. And I held her and held her.
Oh, your lifetime of cuddles, Ian.
And then she started opening her eyes.
Oh, baby.
She stabilized in my arms.
Oh, baby, yeah.
She didn't go. She didn't go.
Mama cuddles me together. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, good girl.
Got a smile.
Yeah, good girl.
The care is healing. Absolutely.
The baby need to cuddle for mama.
For both of us, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad for her. Still have lots of struggles, I'm sure, but she survived.
In the 1960s, America's booming post-war economy made it the most powerful country in the world.
Addressing the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Washington, President Johnson optimistically predicts that business profits will be up several billions to 30 billion this year.
But people who couldn't work weren't able to benefit from.
Okay, so I think I'm going to take a pause from the live, take a little bit of break from this documentary, take a breather, get a snack, and then I should be on a little later. Thank you all for watching. We are getting farther in the sock. We have to get to 8 1/4 inch, so it's about that much longer to go on the foot part of the sock, and then we do the toe. I'll be done with the first sock. I did try them on, try this one on. It does fit my foot. It looks a little funny because there's no elastic. It's all 100% wool, but it does fit the shape of my heel and like the bone on the side of my foot, you know. But it fits great. The wool's awesome. So yeah, I should be back again soon. I might try to get on Clapper for about an hour and then maybe come back after some chores. But I should be on again soon. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you like the knitting content. I've been really delving into it and trying to be self-sufficient and making clothing. I do have a knitting machine I'm going to be working on. I just got the instruction book today, and then I do have a machine, a knitting machine that needs a foot pedal. I love thrifted sewing stuff. So I have a machine knitter, and then I have an old-time knitting machine that I'm gonna fix up. So if you want to subscribe for the creating sustainable clothing content and goods, let me know. Subscribe. Thank you for the comments and likes and input that I've been getting. Pretty awesome. I like my demographic on my content. It's been women. Either some weeks it's women around my age group, and then there's women in their 70s on here watching YouTube. So that's pretty awesome. Alright, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you, everyone.